Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are lucky enough to watch it within the first day of its release, today we crossed 3 million subscribers on this channel. You can look down and see what number we're at now. So first of all, I just want to say thank you, because December 2022, Christmas 2022, we hit 2 million. We went from 2 to 3 million in a month and a half, in 50 days. That is unbelievable. From 1 to 2 million took 18 months, so I cannot thank you enough. And if you just get my videos recommended to you in the YouTube algorithm and you're not subscribed yet, you can hit the subscribe button if you'd like. No pressure at all. To celebrate, I'm gonna show you the most vile, disgusting checkmate I have ever seen in my life. This video is actually going to be educational, because this checkmate has never ever happened in a full game. It's gotten close, but people played differently. So you can be the first person to try this out in a game. I've also put all the moves in the description because this comes out of an opening. And in April of 2023, this will be in my, I'm making a course on the Chessable website, because chess.com acquired Play Magnus and Chessable, but that's, you know, it's a different story. So there will be a link in the description to that. Let's begin. And I will show you the Bong Cloud checkmate. Now, first of all, what's a Bong Cloud? Well, Bong Cloud is an opening in chess where you move your king out on the second move. Now, you could do it like this. You can play e3 and like this. You can play f3 and king f2. Bong Cloud is a nice little way to completely remove your right to castle and basically disrespect your opponent. King to e2 on the second move is the Bong Cloud. Okay, why would you play the Bong Cloud? Well, it's like I said, it's a method of disrespect, nerfing yourself, if you will, not showing your opponent any sign of competitive, respect. I can't think of another word for respect. So e4 is what we will be starting with. But how can you checkmate with the Bong Cloud? Buckle up. Black needs to respond with the Sicilian defense. Now, you will play knight c3. There's a lot of ways to play against the Sicilian defense. The Sicilian defense, one of the most popular openings in chess, and if you play the king's pawn, you need to have a good weapon against this. I recommend knight c3 and now d6. That is basically the most popular second move, tied with knight c6. d6, black is trying to play a dragon Sicilian, maybe a Najdorf Sicilian, and now you play pawn to d4 and bring your queen out. Now, that might look a little bit counterintuitive, right? Because why would you bring your queen out if it can be attacked? Well, we're just gonna drop back. We're dropping back and blocking our bishop because we want to put our bishop here, here, here. Some of you might have seen this before. I've called this the Magnus Carlsen Sicilian. I've made a separate video as to the origins of this, the lore of this, if you will. But the point is, we're going to go here, here, and castle queenside, right? And the position that we are searching for, that you will probably get in your games, goes like this: g6, b3. Black develops the knight and tries to play the dragon setup, something like this. Now both sides are castled on opposite sides. All right, so long castle, short castle, and we play f3. And when the kings are castled on opposite sides, what you would like to do is you would like to start an attack very quickly. Now, black can attack us here in a variety of different ways, like a6, b5, queen a5, bishop e6, rook c8, knight b4, etc. Now, here is a way that some of your games might go: a6, g4, b5, h4, right? Like, we're both just throwing cannons at one another. Many people here get scared of h5. Okay, they do not want the move h5 to happen, because if we get here, it's a little bit too close now, and we basically are forcefully opening up the h-file. Or, if we're not going to open up the h-file, we're going to smother the bishop to death in the corner of the board, right? So that's kind of what people try to avoid, and they try to play moves like h5. But the problem with a move like h5 is that the knight needs to anchor the pawn, because it wants to do this. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to immediately go here. Now a couple of things are happening. We're targeting the knight like this. And by the way, all these moves are in the description. So if you forget, copy paste the moves in the description into any analysis board, chess.com/analysis, boom. So these knights are interacting, right? That knight needs to guard that, so that can't work. And when this knight takes, we'll take the bishop. So black is about to lose both defenders of the king and the pawn. And in a worse nightmare situation for black, black will go here, and we don't stop, we keep pushing forward. And the idea of this is that when we gambit both pawns, our queen gets in, our rook gets in. And one of the most violent and vicious ways to completely destroy black here, game over, as you can see, +7, according to the engine. Here we go, we chop down the bush, we go rook takes h5, bishop takes g7, queen g5 check, we take with check, and now you must check again. And the idea is it's not a draw, you aren't repeating moves, but in the middle of the game, you get a ladder checkmate. Queen and rook on side-by-side files, G and H, rook d2. Absolutely brutal conclusion to this game. Rook d2, and you can't stop it. You can go here, I take. Rook h2 is completely unstoppable. All right, black can only delay it by a move or two. So that is what you are going for when you play this queen d4 thing. You want them to do all of this, and you want them to do the dragons, and this is what you're going to face the most. g4, h4 on the way. After that, you just need to learn how to deal with various, counter-attacking measures that the opponent can play against you. But this is what you want, okay? You want an opposite side castling kind of game, f3, g4, and etc., etc. Now, that would be nice if you could absolutely pulverize everybody like that. But not everybody is going to play like that, right? Some people are going to play in a different way. So, what I have named the professional variation in my course is the following. Black does not play knight f6 ever. Black plays g6 here, and now bishop h6, which looks like black is stupid. All right, it looks like, it's like when you first learned about moving your bishop out here, and you would move it out that way because you're out like here. You're like, oh, it's more active. I'm so smart. No, but in this case, it's actually not so bad. The bishop comes here and the knight stays home for now, and you need to block the attack on your queen with f4. Now, many people here see this and go, okay, e5. All right, and we will look at that last. I will show you, and that leads to the Bong Cloud checkmate. That will lead us to the promised land. But you also want to learn how they play the right way. So one of the most critical moves here for black is to mirror this and f5. f5 is very sharp. If you're below the level of 2000, you will never, and I quote, never face f5, ever. Because nobody studies chess to this extent. f5 is what all the grandmasters play. And it's a very complicated game. In my course, I'm recommending bishop b2, bishop d3, supporting the center, long castle, and the position is complicated, as you can see. I mean, it's very, very tense position. If both sides play well in chess, that's what happens. You get a good fight. Volkanovski, Islam Makhachev, right? Tense fight, back and forth. Now, the right way for black to play here is to go here first, and then play e5 to put pressure on this and pressure on this, and now you need to defend yourself with g3, both sides castle, and it's a very complicated game once again. Now here I've had some games go rook e8, I slide my king out of the way of the bishop, and life is good. Bishop g4, bishop e2, we take it easy, trade pieces. Now black will try to create an attack here, we try to create an attack on this side of the board. All right, rook f1, h3, g4, knight d5 at some moment, and it's once again a very tense fight after black plays knight f6 and bishop h6 and then e5. Black has to play this first. Why? Why can't black just play e5 right away? Because now you do not play g3. Pay attention to the difference. I will do it one more time. Bishop h6 attacks the queen. You block. Black has to go here first because they keep an eye on your pawn. If they don't keep an eye on this, right? Because your knight has to stay at home. It cannot move or else it will be taken. If they do this first, now you play knight b5. And now pandemonium on the chessboard. Pandemonium. Because there's no way for black to deal with this. No way. I mean, they can play king e7, but then you play bishop a3 and slaughter the king. They can play bishop back to f8, but that is a miserable move. You can take on e5, knight f3, bishop b2, long castle, etc. So the best move there is for black to play bishop takes f4. all right? And now you must remember this. This is not easy to remember. You do not take with check, but you take with the queen. And now, folks, we are headed straight for the most epic checkmate I have ever seen in my life. All right, if you had the patience to watch 10 minutes, you don't have a bad attention span, pay attention. Queen d6 threatens something very nasty. Knight c7. So if this knight c7 check and black is mated, they have to sacrifice the queen to avoid it, and you're completely winning. So most people after queen takes d6 take your queen and do this. And now it's check. Now, black can go here or here. The best move is not to move into your knight because bishop a3 is coming. All right? Bishop a3 is very, very bad news for black. So most people will play king f8. You still play bishop a3. Now, the best move is to block like this. If they block the attack, you develop. Okay, and you pressure, you're not taking anything, your knight is just a menace, that's what it's doing, and then something like this might happen, develop your bishop, kick this bishop out, and come back and hunt down these pawns. Oh, that's a terrible arrow. Oh my god, that's an even worse arrow. So, if they play knight e7, knight f3, bishop c4, castles, very, very, very good position, because this knight is so powerful, and you're going to hunt the f7 pawn and these pawns as well. Like this pawn, if you're able to take it, like if the bishop comes out. But the most popular move here, by far, played online like 50, 60 times, is making a run for it. And look at the evaluation bar shoot up to the moon like AMC in 2021. Folks, it's over. And you're about to witness the most disgusting king hunt you've ever seen. Because it looks like you're out of the way, but you're not. 98 check! The king cannot go to these two squares, so the king runs bishop f8! Have you ever seen something like this? Your pieces are on the opponent's back rank, and the king is evicted. The king is evicted. Now, you need to remember the right move here, because bishop e2 looks really appetizing, but it's not the right move because black blocks. You need to follow the king to g7, knight g7 check, and now, no matter where the king goes, it's mate. But one of them is far more egregious than the other. This position in online games has been reached about 15 times. No one has ever gone backwards and tried to repeat moves. Nobody has ever done that. Most people in this position go forward, okay? They play king h4. If they do that, you give a check, and now you must remember that since the king cannot go backwards, king f2! And h3 is mate. Pawn to h3 is unstoppable checkmate. There are ways for black to sacrifice the bishop and delay. h3 is game over. Mate in one move. The same if black goes to g4. If black does this, then it's very simple. Check, check, and the king can run backwards because we already know if the king comes forward, king f2, h3 mate. But if the king runs backwards to f6, check, you ain't getting anywhere because rook to d1. Now, yeah, you can also win the rook. You can also win the rook, but this is brutal because that's mate. This leads to, like, everything leads to mate. The king is completely cut off, and if you forget this, I've put the moves in the description for you to memorize them. So, if we give this check and the king goes forward, the king is done for. But what if the king goes backwards? If the king goes backwards, you're welcome, because you're about to win a game like you've never won a game of chess in your life. You must remember, you're not trying to repeat moves. That is not what we are going for, but rather you need to block the bishop with knight e6, not double check, because that allows this. Knight e6, cutting off the escape, king up to h5. Now, the only place to give check here that makes any sense is with the bishop, and now the bishop cannot block. So the king's only legal move is to come forward. Now, you play pawn to g3 check. The only legal move for black in this position, from this point forward, black has no option but to play only moves, and it leads to mate. Are you ready? Take a deep breath, take a sip of water. You're about to witness greatness, and I hope you pull this off in your games. King walks forward. Pawn to g3 check. It would be mate, but the bishop takes. We take back. It's mate unless the king takes. Now, here it looks a little bit tricky because you want to play something like this and then rook h3, but don't do that because suddenly you lose your knight and you got no mate. Every move has to be check. The only check, literally, the only check in this position that you have is rook h3, and now you see the importance of blocking the bishop. The king now walks forward. We play bishop to f3 check. The king makes it to our side of the board with king takes g1. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you king to e2. Check from the rook and the corner, and incidentally, Bong Cloud checkmate. Thank you so much for 3 million subscribers. We might have more in the future. I appreciate you all very, very much. Now get out of here.